I've been following this for like ever, guys. Like I did a little less so at Fox because for whatever reason, not enough people were interested in it. And I think I'm still sort of experiencing the same thing. You guys are not really that interested in it. But you know what? I'm committed. And sometimes I'm going to tell you about stuff that you may not be that interested in because I'm really interested in it. And I think that it's an opportunity that you probably don't want to ignore. I mean, this is not, money that's for the kids' college education or for anything you really need. This is like, I could go to Vegas this weekend, but maybe I just throw it into Bitcoin instead. I want you to hear Eric Trump speaking at a conference, I guess this was sometime within the last 24 hours, with his prediction on where Bitcoin prices, don't forget, they just hit around 100K. Just a couple days ago, we had the 100K party. Now we're in the 90s. This is Eric Trump saying where he thinks Bitcoin's going to go. Watch.
I can tell you a lot of eyes were opened when Bitcoin hit 100,000. And I can tell you a hell of a lot more eyes are going to be opened when Bitcoin hits 1 million. And I'm confident it's going to hit 1 million. I think we're all confident in this room that it's going to hit 1 million.
Mm-hmm. 1 million. Imagine that. Well, here's a few things going on that you should just be aware of. Here's the story on Axios today. What to watch. Quote, Trump is going to be very focused on the price of Bitcoin. A top transition source told us it's another stock market for him. The source explained, adding that Trump would love for Bitcoin to hit 150K early in his presidency. The bottom line, Andreessen, co-founder of the iconic venture firm Andreessen Horowitz, tweeted on Sunday, political power is translating into financial power every day of the week. And Bitcoin is going to be one of the beneficiaries of this. You saw Michael Saylor, who was on the program the other day. Michael Saylor is the largest holder of Bitcoin from a personal level and also from his corporate level with MicroStrategy's ticker symbol MSTR. Michael Saylor is like the bomb, okay? I'm just going to say that. He's it, right? Like he's thinking about this. He's super smart, by the way. Like seriously, like a rocket scientist. Like he's like Elon smart, okay? And he's made a lot of money for shareholders. The stock has been on a tear. And again, this is not like, the savings that you're clinging to. This is when you have something left over and you just kind of want to enjoy the ride. He's writing, Eric Trump shared his views on the significance of Bitcoin and the role that he and Donald Trump expect to play in the future. The speech is extraordinary and I highly recommend watching it in full. So he put the whole speech out on there. I retweeted this so you can get it off of my Twitter account or on Michael Saylor's. But listen, what's really interesting here, and Michael talked about this on the show, is that there's an opportunity to really move money forward and capital markets forward in a revolutionary way. And before everybody freaks out and says, oh, it's going to replace the dollar. Look, I asked him about this and I want you to hear what he said. There's this jockeying for who's going to be the currency of the world, so to speak, and the dollar comes under pressure. Is Bitcoin the answer, do you think? Is that the currency of the world for the future? And does it undermine or threaten the hegemonic power of the United States?
Yeah, I don't think Bitcoin threatens the U.S. I think Bitcoin is strengthening the U.S. I think that if you look at all the currencies in the world, the strongest currency in the world is the dollar. And so everybody in the world has either got a weaker currency, which is collapsing, or they're on the dollar standard. Like the euro is pretty much pegged to the dollar, the Singapore, the DROM, most of the quote unquote good currencies, the Swiss franc, et cetera, they're pretty much pegged to the dollar. And then the bad currencies, the weak currencies, the peso, the Naira, Egyptian pounds, Lebanese pounds, Turkish lira, they're collapsing against the dollar. So it seems pretty clear that the dollar will continue to spread. But there is an inflation problem. The inflation rate in dollars is not the CPI. It's not 2 or 3%.
Okay, so I think it's really interesting. I did a long interview. We're going to put it on the Trish Regan on Bitcoin playlist. But he's actually, and we didn't get into this as much, I'll have to have him back on the program. He's been laying out kind of a strategy for how the dollar still benefits in that scenario, because let's face it, even if you're transacting in Bitcoin, which allow you to do that 24/7, think about it, and he made the great example, like you need money in, and it's like 3 a.m. and how on a Sunday, like 3 a.m. on a Sunday, how do you get the money? Well, that's where Bitcoin kind of comes in, because you would have a constant open market and money would be so much more fluid in that sense. And that's the direction I do believe we're heading in. So how do you make sure that the US dollar and the hegemonic power of the US dollar doesn't get suffocated in that environment? And what he's kind of laying out, and I think is fascinating, is the stablecoin environment. Remember we were talking about Polymarket? And I was showing you how, by the way, Polymarket was blowing the poles out of the water, but you couldn't actually trade on Polymarket's exchange. You couldn't make these bets on political outcomes if you lived in the US, because, we have all these rules and regulations against it. But they were actually doing this on something called the Ethereum blockchain. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're a little bit different. If you think about Bitcoin, it's kind of like that store of value, and Ethereum is kind of like that working capital. And so we had Sam Tabar come on the show the other day. You can look at that on the Trish Regan on cryptos or Trish Regan on Bitcoin playlist, because Sam talked about how Ethereum is writing contracts into the code. And so what if you were to have these exchanges that actually were operating off of these digital codes, maybe with Bitcoin as the store of value? And I say, okay, so where's the dollar and all that? Well, at some point you got to cash these things out, right? And you're going to use stable coins to do that. So the stable coin companies are out there buying US treasuries in droves, because they need to be able to turn around and hand you your own currency. Rob and I have a piece on this actually coming up very soon. I think it's this week. We've been working on it. So I encourage you to go to 76 Research, 76research.com. Here we go. Let me show you, 76research.com. This is not updated, but because the portfolio has done even better since then. But you can see our portfolio for the 3 months ending 10/31/24. Our average median stock there, average stock up 7.9% versus the S&P 500 during the exact same period of time, up 3.7%. So you can see some of the picks, just real standouts. Like the financials, we've got one up 37%, one up 35%. 30% increase in one of our energy picks, 29% in another. So lots and lots and lots of upside. We have not actually included Bitcoin in any of these portfolios because they're designed to be sort of slow and steady, right? And let's just face it, like Bitcoin's anything but slow and steady. I encourage you to go to 76 Research, sign up for the 76 report, use code word dollar, DOLLAR. You'll get it for $1 a month, just $1 a month at 76research.com. After the first 2 months, you can cancel anytime. It goes to $9.95, but you can get all the information that we've been putting out, for example, on cryptos and on Bitcoin and a whole bunch of other stuff, Disney included, and some other names as well. Or you can go over and do the free thing, which is invest in MAGA, because there's some names there. There's some sectors there as well, investinmaga.com. But listen, this is kind of an important time. There's a lot to be enthusiastic about and excited about. And I just want to make sure that everybody gets included in all of this. Peace of my mind, writing slow and steady wins the race. It always does, right? It always does. My kids are doing some kind of school play, and my son just got cast as the hare. They're doing like the turtle and the hare. And he's happy because he likes to be fast, but he's like, Mom, the fast one is not the one that wins. And I'm like, no, I know. We all know the legend. We all know the story. Anyway, it's a very very, very interesting space. I see Don Bacco weighing in. He has a trading background. Can this actually be that big? I actually think it can. I really do think it can. And look, I've sat through some of Michael Saylor's presentations on it, so perhaps that is affecting some of my bias. There's a couple great books on this as well. And look, I've been around it since it was $10. $10. Okay, I wish I had bought it when it was $10, but we're at 100K now, roughly. And I don't think Eric Trump is high when he says you could anticipate a much larger valuation in the future. So listen, you got to watch this stuff. It's important. As much as we talk about politics, as much as we talk about the media, listen, you got to take care of numero uno first. So it's part of why I created 76 Research. I encourage you to go there and check it out. And I think, you got to prioritize yourself and investing. We're coming out with a beginner's guide to stocks. I know a lot of you guys were looking for that. So that's well worth signing up for, and that'll be free for subscribers. Actually, I think that's going to be free for everyone. We want to make that available to as many people as we can.